Peace. Welcome to the culture right here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii. Thank you so much for tuning in. And happy Friday, folks. All right, we got a lot to talk about. First and foremost, let's talk about how Kyrsten Sinema of the Democrats is no longer a Democrat. The senator has now decided to move into becoming an independent. And so we're going to talk a little bit. I want to get, most importantly, I want to get your take on what do you think is going to be the impact of her changing parties. We'll have that conversation. Also, Brittney Griner is officially back in the U.S. after landing in San Antonio earlier today. So we're going to discuss, this ongoing sentiment that maybe the United States may have made a bad deal. I'm seeing a lot of people on social media saying, was this the deal that needed to be made? Would something else be done? Very interesting change of events. We'll talk a little bit about that. Plus, can we talk about the youngest mayor in the United States? A young black boy who is 18 years old is the mayor of a city of Earl, Arkansas. We're going to talk about Jalen Smith, and I'm asking the question: would you live in a city where your mayor is 18 years old? We'll talk about that. Plus, I got to talk about what's happening. Let me make sure. There we go. Trevor Noah has officially called it quits for The Daily Show, but his ode to black women is what's standing out among his 7-year reign. We'll share with you what Trevor had to say about the impact that black women have made in his life. So, well, all of that, and of course, your thoughts and your insight. And of course, I got my dynamic culture crew. We're going to be joined by Rashad Staten, Bakari Jones, and you. So stay with us. There's a lot to get you on today's edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Let's go. All right, folks, welcome to the culture right here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii. Thank you for tuning in. First and foremost, we got to say it, folks. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. It just only took us a couple of days to get to this point, but happy Friday. And we hope that today's conversation is going to be something that you're going to enjoy. And most importantly, a conversation that you would love to be a part of. Now, that's the great thing about the culture, is that we get your feedback. We get your insight in real time, folks. So make sure y'all get ready to jump in our chat rooms as we're streaming live on all platforms, YouTube, Facebook, and of course, blackstarnetwork.com. You could jump into the conversation, and we're going to do our part on our end to highlight what you have to say about these evolving topics. All right, folks, let's get into it because time is of the essence. Let's first start up with the big news in Washington, coming out of Washington, where Kyrsten Sinema, who was a Democrat, she has decided and she has announced that she is officially no longer a Democrat and that she is not moving to the Republican space, but she has decided to become an independent. Wow. She is the senator out of Arizona. And she announced this earlier today that she would leave the Democratic Party and become an independent, unsettling the party divide, according to the reports, between the Democrats and within the Democratic Party. She just said in one of her statements, she wrote this op-ed piece that she published in the Arizona Republic. It said, "I've joined the growing number of Arizonians who reject party politics by declaring my independence from the broken partisan systems in Washington." Now, she has certainly a lot more to say on this, but some of you may know that Kyrsten Sinema has been a controversial figure in the Senate because even though she's a Democrat, she didn't always align with some of the party's agenda. The big issue that she often found her on the other side of with her party was around the issue of tax policy, fiscal policy, right? And some people would say, oh, she's an undercover Republican. No, not the case. But let me just share with you how this whole thing went down from her conversation with party leader Chuck Schumer when she had told him yesterday that she was making a move. Take a look at this. This is coming from the New York Times. Well, first, let's start with the first one. This is what she wrote in the Arizona Republicans and getting more deeper into why she decided to move to the independent, to become an independent. She said that she had never fit perfectly in either national party and that the loudest, most extreme voices continue to drive each party toward the fringes. She said, quote, when politicians are more focused on denying the opposition party a victory than they are on improving Americans' lives, the people who lose are everyday Americans. That's why I have joined the growing number of Arizonians who reject party politics by declaring my independence from the broken partisan system in Washington. Okay, Kyrsten Sinema. Now, the other part is that she informed Senator Chuck Schumer, the Democrat and majority leader, of her plans yesterday, according to the state Senate Democratic aide, who described the private conversation on the condition of anonymity. The aide said that Ms. Sinema would keep her committee positions through Democrats, meaning the party would still hold a one-seat edge on the panels next year, giving them new flexibility over nominations and legislation. Ms. Sinema has not said whether she would caucus with the Democrats, as do two other independent senators, Bernie Sanders of Vermont and Angus King of Maine. She told Politico that she would not caucus with Republicans either, and that her ideology and voting habits would not change. Okay. So this is interesting, folks. This brings up a lot as we can talk about. Here's what the New York Times reported. Kyrsten Sinema says she would leave the Democratic Party because she didn't fit in either the party. And I want to kind of go deeper into down this line of thought, and I want you to share your comments with me. So make sure you'll join us in the chat rooms, and we can get some discussion about this. Some of you probably have seen Kyrsten Sinema as an enemy to the Democratic Party, right? And President Joe Biden had mentioned, and it was reported that he had mentioned through his press secretary, that even though she decided to change party, that he still wants to keep working with her and having her as an ally, because he said that that she can still be beneficial to the overall agenda affecting Democrats and the rest of the country. But it seems interesting that a person of her platform, her stature, especially in the Senate, that she's making a move like this, right? Given the fact that, you know, the Democrats didn't get the pummeling that many people had thought that they were going to get during the midterm elections. But at the same time, you know, I think she does speak to a sentiment that people have in this country. And it makes me wonder, do we expect the independent wing of the political space that we're in? Do we expect that to grow? Should we expect that more people are going to start to move from the Democrat-Republican space and go into the independent space, especially given that there is a lot of rancor and dissension, not just between Democrats and Republicans, but within the parties themselves, that these parties are trying to figure out their identity. These parties are often trying to figure out who is going to be the best person to kind of, quote unquote, represent the party in various capacities, whether it's on the national stage or on the statewide level or on the city level. They're trying to figure all these things out. So I want to get your take on this. What do you think of Kyrsten Sinema deciding to become an independent? And do you think that more folks are going to make the move to become an independent because of the party politics and the deep partisan divide that exists right now in this country? Join me in a conversation. I would love to hear from you. All right, Janae, you kicked us off today. Good afternoon, Janae. Good to hear from you, sis. One of our loyal watchers here on The Culture. Janae, you said, wait, did she switch because the Democratic Party in her state renounced her? Good move, but you ain't slick, chick. Well, that's interesting, but they've always renounced her in some way, shape, or form, right? She always thought of herself, and this is a couple of photos of her. She always thought of herself as kind of being like an independent thinker. Everybody, you know, people like to think that, right? Some people say that she became a huge barrier, but she was also one of the ones that was able to help President Biden get that infrastructure bill across, right? She opened up some doors in that space. So it's interesting that she's making this move. And I get what you're saying, Janae, that is this because of some internal stuff that people are seeing, some internal pressure, or she just made this decision on her own? question, and it's a great question. It's a great question. We will probably never know the answer, Janae, but it's certainly something that we need to consider. Thank you, Janae, for checking in. Let's go to Jacqueline. Then we're going to take our first pause. Jacqueline, you checked in and said when she voted down a national $15 an hour wage increase, I knew she was only for herself while collecting money from corporate donors. Yeah. And I think, Jacqueline, very quickly, I think that we could probably put that on the doorstep of a lot of parties. I mean, a lot of people within both the Democrat and Republican Party. You know, when you're talking about wage in this country, I think there is a consensus that between both parties that they're not on the same page as the American people as much as they want to say, and then as much as they want to make us believe. Because $15 an hour in America, of course, is nothing compared to rising gas prices, food prices, and consumer goods. Nothing. It's not enough. You need to really be making at least $25 an hour if you want to keep it. You want to keep it 100. But you know, it's that. It is that. And so, you know, you're talking about a point of money being spent, money being invested. And that is the ongoing, I think, you know, that's why we have these like campaign finance rules and all of those things and fundraising rules and all of that stuff. It's like that is the deeper part of this discussion when you're talking about money for the American people versus money for candidates. Great point, though. Look, I got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, let's continue to get your thoughts on this, talking about Kyrsten Sinema deciding to switch gears from being a Democrat to becoming an independent, excuse me. And I'm asking a question. What are your thoughts on that? And more importantly, do you see a lot of folks getting into that space now? We got all the elections out for at least the next 2 years. Do you see that folks are going to say, you know what? Let's give the independent wing of this political system a try. Do you see that happening? Join me in a conversation and stay tuned. We got a lot to talk about here on The Culture, right here on the Black Star Network.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in Black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland@RolandSMartin.com.
All right, folks, welcome back to the show. We're talking about Senator Kyrsten Sinema of the state of Arizona, making a big announcement earlier today that she's no longer a Democrat and that she's decided to move over to becoming an independent. Yeah, the controversial senator who has in some ways blocked some elements of the Democratic agenda said, you know what, she had enough is enough of the party politics, and that she wants to try to be a part of the solution instead of the problem. But she feels like she could not do that within the boundaries of the Democratic Party. So we're asking you today, what do you think of this move and the impact that it could make on the larger Democratic makeup of Congress? And more importantly, I want to focus on not just on her particularly, but I think she is speaking to some degree, or there's some degree of truth. There is so much party politics and partisan divide in this country. Should we expect that now that these elections are over, should we expect that in preparation for the next round of elections in 2024, should we expect more Americans to move into becoming independent rather than staying with Democrats and Republicans? Let's take it a little further really quickly. Should Black folks become more independent rather than staying with Democrats and Republicans, considering when we have these conversations about 2024, who is going to be then all of that, who is going to be who could potentially be the nominee or who could potentially throw their hat in the ring for president, considering where we are in this country, from social justice issues to finance, to education, to healthcare issues. Like, should we start to really say, all right, well, maybe the independent party may, quote unquote, it may not be structured. The infrastructure may not certainly be there as the Democrats and as the Republican parties have their structure, but it could be something there. This is not, now, here's the thing. This is not saying that we should start a whole different political party. I think that conversation is still on the table. But I think that it is important for us to at least consider the options that we have. I don't know about y'all. I love options. I don't want you to just tell me I only have one and one choice only. Give me some options, because at least it will make me feel like I'm being empowered in my choice and decision making. That's just me, though. But that's just me. All right, let's go back to what you have to say as we have this discussion. All right, let me go from my sister Lana. Lana, always good to hear from you. Lana, you checked in and say teacher salary $40,000 and the salary of the people you leave your kids with. The working class getting played. We don't even fight for our teachers. That should be a minimum. Facts. How about that? And Lana, you going back to that point that we made about the $15 an hour piece, which is, of course, we know is what you pay high school students now. It's what you pay high school students. This is not even money that you should be paying grown-ass adults who have children, who have families to support, bills to pay, right? Homes and cars and just quality of life. So I'm with you right there, Lana. Good to check in with you. Good to talk to you, sis. Thank you. Chris V, my man Chris. Chris, you said, I could see her not winning her re-election when her term is up, right? She is coming up for an election, but she could harm for any future potential Democrat running, splitting the ticket as an independent that could help the GOP. Yeah. All right. So here's my take on this, Chris, and you tell me if I'm way off on this, because when we do see people making these type of quote unquote, I'm gonna just use this term loosely, defection, right? So when people make this type of defection, we always say, well, it may help the GOP, depending on if you are a member of the GOP. You may say it helps the Democrats, right? So it keeps us in this box, I think, right? I think it really keeps us in this box when we look at how people are deciding to make personal political choices, right? Because it's like, and I've heard the conversation even among Black folks, right? Among Black folks, you say, if a Black person says, oh, I think I'm gonna go independent, then there's always the counter argument, sometimes from other Black folks that say, well, if you go independent, then the Democrats won't be able, have a couple of people less in support of their party, therefore giving the GOP an opportunity to win. And I think that if we start to challenge this, right? We feel confined in so many different ways in our lives. And the one space where we're supposed to have, quote unquote, choice, the one space where we're supposed to have the ability to be heard, right? We're often countered with, if you do this, you may cause this level of destruction. And Chris, I don't know if that's the best way for us to look at this, right? Like, I'm at a point right now that if you vote your interest and you're being authentically you in your political choices, in your political choices, then I can't be mad at you. I don't want us to stay in this space, and I think we have been kind of conditioned to be in this space, where we go along to get along versus actually making some bold decisions, even if it's not in the following of other people or in the mainstream, or it's not, as popular. Look, be yourself. Find out who you are politically. Find out who you are socially. Find out where you stand on health, education, and healthcare. But be yourself. The last thing America needs are more people that just do one thing or that just follow people just because it's popular. We don't need that even in the political space. We got that in other elements of our society. So at this point, make your political choice. If your choice is, and I'm just using this as an example, folks, so don't run this part of the conversation crazy. But if you are pro-choice versus pro-life, right? That's your choice. That is the political space that you're in. But once we start to creating a culture where we make people feel bad about making their political decisions, that's disempowering. And I'm certainly not saying that that's what you're doing, Chris. I'm just making a point. I think it's a cultural thing that we no, we got to kind of lockstep. I think that in order for this political system to grow, we kind of have to kind of let people figure out who they are and making their choice and being authentically themselves, politically speaking. Am I making sense on this? All right, let's go back to what folks are saying. Corinna, my sister, check it in as well. Corinna, it's good to hear from you. Corinna, you said where we are in this country is still Democratic or GOP, Republican. No in between here at this time. If we want the option to include other parties, realistically, we have to build the infrastructure first. Facts. Absolute facts. Absolute facts. Here's the thing, though, and I think, Corinna, you know this. You have a love for education. You understand the system and of government. If we create a space for that, we may find ourselves, and I feel like part of the reason why it's hard for us to have conversations about a third political party or even, going into the independent space is because we have this fear that things are going to fall apart. We have been conditioned and we have been made to be fearful that if the Democrats or Republicans are not the primary party, if that's not where the people are going, then this whole thing going to fall apart. Here's why I think we should kind of push back on that a little bit. Either the Democrats and the GOP evolve to where the people are, or we do have to open the door for other political ideologies to exist. You have to open the door. You got to do one another. You can't confine people. And I think that's the part about this that stuck out for me about Kyrsten Sinema is that we're in 2022. Now, certainly other countries are operating where they have various sections of the parties and of political ideology. Everybody in America don't just think conservative and liberal. Some of us are liberal about some things and conservative about other things and vice versa. So when do we kind of evolve to a place to recognize there might be some other political ideologies out there, especially when you're talking about with Black folks, Black America, right? When you're talking about Black America, which really runs the gamut. If you really think about it, in Black America alone, we run the gamut of political ideologies. And we are probably more politically diverse than any other group of people in this country. Because we're talking about not only just nationalists, we're talking Pan-Africanists, we have a religious side to us, the religious right, the theologians, we have the Democrats, we got the Republicans, we got this. I mean, we run the gamut. Then outside of the Democrats and Republicans, we still got some conservative, we got some liberals. I mean, it's just running the gamut, just in Black America alone. So if that's the case for Black America alone, then let's consider all the other groups of people we coexist with in this country. It's is it time for us to at least have some sensible conversations about other political ideologies to exist? So, Corinna, I appreciate you, sis, for checking in with that comment. Karen, thank you so much, sis, for checking in You said this, and I'm going to get your take on this very quickly, Karen. You said, I prefer the independent option to choose a candidate because they are smart and identify with what is important to me and the Black community versus voting with the party to get along. Karen. That's all. I think you hit the nail on the head, sis. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. We have to allow people to have the choice, right? Give them the options. People love options. Now, if you get too many options out there, people start to get confused. They shut down. A whole lot of psychological things happen. You can check the research on that. But if you give a few options, then people will feel like they can become more in tune and more become authentically themselves in their choice. So you're going to hear a lot about what the implications of Kyrsten Sinema Senator Sinema is making with this party jump, but it's not unheard of. This happens. Joe Lieberman, back in the early 2000s, he did the same thing. From a Republican, he became an independent. So I think he was a Democrat, he became an independent. The thing is, we really need to have a different conversation about political choice. And we got to address the fact that within these two major established parties, we're not getting served. Our interests are not being heard. And most importantly, we're not seeing the representation that we deserve. So we will have to see. Look, I got to take a quick pause. When we come back, let's talk about Brittney Griner being back home and how it's causing so much confusion. At first, we were with her. Now, we're like, oh, but we gave up an arms dealer. So now everybody is an international politician. Now we know about geopolitics. We never even heard of Victor Bout. Nobody talked about this guy. Now everybody's like, this may not be the right move. Really? All right, I'm going to check in with my sister, Bakari Jones, get her take on it. I want to hear yours. Stay with us. That discussion is up next right here on The Culture on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in Black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Your money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland@RolandSMartin.com.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
Some angry
pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol. We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. Now we want to shift gears from talking about some national politics and what's going on with Congress to talking about an issue that I thought that people would be excited and happy about. We're talking about the release of our sister, the former WNBA superstar Brittney Griner, who was released officially yesterday. She touched down here in the States earlier this morning. She just had to go through a number of different countries and finally was able to be touched down in San Antonio, Texas. And more than ever, she is just so happy to be home. Now, this is because of that great proposal that was placed before Russia by the Biden administration for a prisoner swap, where it was first proposed that that America would take the arms dealer Victor Bout, what they call him, the merchant of death, and swap him out for Brittney Griner and for another American prisoner, Paul Whelan, who the Russian scene has called to be an American spy, who has been imprisoned in Russia for years in Russia. And so that proposal wasn't completely shot down because the only person that came home was Brittney. Paul is still there. President Biden said yesterday in his remarks about the announcement about Brittney that he's going to continue, his administration will continue to work to bring Paul Whelan home. Now, people are wondering if this swap made sense, even though when it was first brought up by Secretary of State Antony Blinken, he talked about it. There was not as much say about the situation other than bring Brittney home. Now, it's like, did we make the right decision in bringing Brittney home? All right, let me bring in my culture crew member, my sister. She's a strategist. She's been working in the nonprofit sector. She's an activist. She's an organizer within the LGBTQIA community. My sister, Bakari Jones. Bakari, thank you so much for being with us.
Farajii, happy Friday, man. Thank you for having me.
Happy Friday. Bakari, I'm trying to understand.
Come on, bro.
See what I'm saying? Like I'm so happy that you can talk to us because you get some insight. You understand some level of geopolitics. You understand how the ins and outs of government. But it's interesting that some Black folks are really questioning whether we should have brought Brittney Griner home, swapping her out for. And I talked to my guy Hassan about this. He's like, this may not have been the best deal, but I'm wondering, and I'm seeing now there are memes on social media, Bakari, talking about Brittney Griner, talking about so we give up the merchant of death for a basketball player. And it's like, wow.
Man.
So now we're going to just crap on the sister. Y'all weren't talking about the merchant of death for 30 years. Since the story broke in February, Bakari, we've been talking about it. National attention, WNBA have been talking. Everybody, but man, bring Brittney home. Now you're like, oh wow. First you didn't even have any ideas on how to bring her home. So the Biden administration put this out there to the American people, didn't give us all the detail, but they told us enough to know what's at stake. At the time, nobody said nothing. Nobody said, well, this doesn't look like a good deal. Then overnight, a couple of nights ago, it happened. The deal finally was made. Victor goes back to Russia being a merchant of death because maybe they want to use him for the Ukraine war. I don't know.
Cut it out, man. Cut it out.
Maybe that's what they wanted him for. Okay. Now we like making fun of the sister. And I'm concerned that we're going to bring that negative energy to make the sister feel bad for wanting to come home. Please help me, Bakari.
I'm glad, I'm grateful that Brittney Griner is home. That's, period, full stop. I'm grateful that she's home. Farajii, when we talked about this maybe months ago now at this point, when we talked about this, and I realized, the prisoner that was proposed, right, this Victor Bout, the merchant of death who was being considered as a prisoner swap. And I believe I said, I didn't have a level of confidence in the Biden administration that they were actually going to go for this trade because of Victor Bout's crimes, right? What he was actually convicted of.
Right.
That said, I still am grateful that she's home, and I understand, people kind of combining these things together, but there's Brittney Griner coming home, and then there's this prisoner being released back to Russia. It's unfortunate that was what was on the table, but I feel like my love and allegiance for Black women is that I take the stance of by any means necessary, right? So doing the least amount of harm, I think that's the path that was taken. I also think that, with this particular criminal, right, and what he was convicted of, which was trading and selling weapons, right? A huge amount for decades. From what I understand, he was
international arms dealer
for decades, right? It took them years and years to catch this man. How? I'm not sure, right? That said, and I don't want to get too controversial, Farajii, it's Friday, but how many weapons has the United States sold to other countries? So for anyone, at least in the U.S., to take such a strong stance that ultimately would have compromised Brittney Griner being returned to the United States, it's a bit hypocritical, right? And I'm not saying that if the U.S. sells arms and that Victor Bout, to me, I feel like it's a convoluted conversation altogether, and I don't know how we can start to really honestly split these hairs. I don't know how you can do it. I am by no means.
I have a suggestion on how we can start it. I have a suggestion.
I'm not a foreign policy expert.
I'm not a foreign policy guy. Let's just look at fundamentally. You and I, we're critical thinkers. We understand how things work. We're system thinkers.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just deal with the fundamentals. Let's figure out first, what is the ultimate goal? The ultimate goal was to bring the sister home.
Correct. Yep.
Now, okay, that's one. The other point is you're talking about two countries who do not have a good history of humanitarianism. So now we're concerned that America may have given Russia an asset, but do we not also understand that in this country, America is the type of country where it will arm the rebels of a resistance in one element, and then if the rebels of the resistance come into power, and America don't like how that power is being expressed, they will arm the next rebels to bring the people that they help down. You see what I'm saying? And look, here's my point in saying that, y'all. My point is we get into, I mean, this holier than thou, like, okay, let's see. First, there's no and again, I'm not no foreign policy expert, but I'm wondering what deal would have been sweet enough for Russia to take to bring Brittney to allow Brittney to come home. They went forward and convicting this sister for 9 years. They took her to a place in Russia that nobody knew even existed.
Mm-hmm.
If America didn't even intervene after pressure from WNBA, her family, her supporters, us, right?
Mm-hmm.
If America didn't intervene in some dramatic way, the sister would still be in some unknown place in Russia, feeling like she's been forgotten. Mm-hmm. Now, again, I'm not saying that America, we don't know the implications of this swap. We don't know the implications of, you could release Victor today and he can get killed tomorrow because of a bad deal. I don't know.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? But we got to start with the fundamental facts. We wanted to have the sister home.
Yep.
We expected the president to make something happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
And look, I'm like my guy Hassan said yesterday, Bakari, y'all really think that America would just give up a man like Victor Bout, who America has known about, has imprisoned, has studied, has gotten information from?
Mm-hmm.
Y'all think America's just going to let him go and it's going to be, come on, man. Come on. Now, some people are even saying, some people are even saying, well, you know what? I'm going to take let me pause on this because I want to get your take on this. Folks, I got to take this break. Folks, I want you to join me in a conversation. Join us in the chat. So many people are checking in about this, but I think we need to kind of like clear the air. So join me in the chat. We'll continue the conversation once we come forward, and we'll hear what you got to say. We'll continue to hear from Bakari and a whole lot more. So stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Folks, welcome back. We've been talking about the fact that Brittney Griner has officially landed in the States today. And as a result of that, there is a growing controversy, a growing sentiment from a number of people that have said or have at least questioned the Biden administration's deal to bring the WNBA superstar back home. Some people are saying, well, if we trade a basketball player, now she's diminished from being a political prisoner to being just a basketball player, for an arms dealer that can cause harm, right? Then maybe we shouldn't have made the deal. And I want to go deeper into this into the sentiment. We've been talking to Culture Crew member Bakari Jones to get her take on this, and certainly we want to highlight some of your comments as well, folks. So keep posting your thoughts in the chat. But Bakari, here's my point in sentence very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
When we talk about this level of this complexity of countries doing this, first and foremost, let's keep it real. I personally didn't expect this to happen until probably next year. Mm-hmm. I didn't expect her to come home this quick, the way she did. I mean, it was just a couple of months ago, or maybe a month and a half ago since you've been sentenced.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really blown and shocked. Now, folks have said, well, it's a ploy for black people, for Biden to get black people. Come on, yo. Okay, so if they see a political advantage, it doesn't take away the simple fact that we wanted the sister back home. It doesn't take away the simple fact that she was wrongfully detained for such a small amount of CBD oil. It doesn't take away the simple fact that at the end of the day, she was there. Now, we could say, oh, man, she made a mistake and she did this and she did that. She admitted to all of that. But how many of us will hate to imagine if we make a mistake and then wind up being in a foreign country in one of their prisons? You go to Cabo San Lucas. Some of us go to Tulum, Mexico. Some of us go to the Bahamas, or some of us go, we go to London. We go all these other places, and you got something in the bag, right? And then you want people to show you some level of some sympathies, empathy, and you get caught up in a situation, right? And you like, damn, I didn't even know. I thought that was out the bag, blah, blah, boom, boom. And now, and you, please.
Yeah, man.
I'm trying to wrap my mind around this.
Especially with the prescription. That was a detail that I didn't realize that.
Great point.
Right?
Right, great point.
And there's a sister, Ola's Truth on Instagram, who posted about this being a victory for disability justice, because those with chronic pain that need these medications that they've been prescribed, right? What does that mean for international travel? Especially if you have a prescription and it's for chronic pain, what does that mean? So I on one level, right, Farajii, I'm grateful for the level of engagement, right, that folks have in and around the issue. At the same time, I do wish that there was a way that we could kind of shift some of that energy and that negativity specifically more into what that means for foreign policy, right? If that energy means that you want to become a foreign policy expert, then yes, keep that energy and let's continue to engage. But to be so critical over the steps that were taken to free Brittney Griner, and I don't necessarily know that folks are not being as equally critical of the United States, but it feels very hypocritical to have that level of criticism about this particular deal that was made. And again, there was, a comment related to where did Victor Bout get the arms in the first place, and to think that the U.S. may not have played a role in that would be, I would say, to some extent, a bit naive, right? So I'm glad that she's home. And I think that, I'm hoping that there's a way that we can kind of shift and redirect some of this energy, Farajii.
Yeah, I mean, and here's the thing, like, I don't care if it's a political move, if President Biden I don't care if he uses it as a part of a political ad. I don't care. I don't care, y'all. You know why we've been so political? Guess what? That's America. We do shit in our lives that's political. You make friends because of, some of us are in spaces, right? We network with certain people because of what? We want to try to make some sort of gain, make some sort of progress. Sometimes it is political. And so what? It's not always a bad thing. Sometimes it is strategic. So what? It's not a bad thing. We try to create this, like, this is the United States of America. Now we want America to be all altruistic and all the moral compass. Come on, man. Come on. I just want the sister home, man.
That's it.
I want the sister home. Now, how many times, and I think you brought this up, Bakari, how many times has America done something with the implication that it might bite them in the ass down the road?
Mm-hmm.
Plenty of times.
Mm-hmm.
Plenty of time. We have gone to war. Y'all remember the war against the Iraq war? Remember that? Remember when they put Colin Powell up before us and talked about, Saddam Hussein had this and had that? We went to whole war, blew up whole country, only to find he didn't have weapons of mass destruction.
Mm-hmm.
Or the little bit of weapons were not even enough, didn't have the capacity. I mean, we go to war on a lie. We go to war. Come on, yo.
We do.
Come on, yo.
The other piece about
this is, come on, yo. Stop playing now. Stop playing, y'all. Y'all playing too much. Y'all want to get in your feelings, but you don't understand, like, sometimes you just got to get the victory in, get a gain in, and move on. If it's political, it's political. But don't act like as if America is now, and as black folks, as black people, please.
Just the number of specifically black political prisoners, right? I am glad that there's one that we can say is coming home or is home and is still presumably right after going through, I'm sure, medical testing, I'm sure rehabilitation, therapy, all of those things, hopefully will still remain in her prime.
Yeah.
But the number of, just the number of political prisoners that are still behind bars, I'm like, this is one that we can count to me as a W, right? Despite all of the other, again, I do understand the concern. And like I said, I feel like I brought that up, but to me, I'm like, no, a win is a win.
A win is a win.
A win is a win.
Let me get a couple of thoughts in here. DeAndre C., you checked in. DeAndre, you said, facts, Farajii. This is the game of politics. Nothing is surface level. Nothing is black and white, especially when you take into account world powers on the geopolitical level. Exactly. This is, and look, I'm gonna fall back on it and say that I'm sure the Biden administration thought about the implications of all of the outcomes of a lot of different decisions. If we do this, what will happen next? You know what I mean? I'm sure they had to talk about. I'm sure of it, without a shadow of doubt. And they not only just talked about it, but they also discussed how they can prepare for it. If we let Victor Bout go, see, they know him. They study him. America studies people, man. Don't ever think that this is some type of weak government that we're dealing with. America will study you, right? And to the point where they know exactly how you think and how you move. Y'all in the military, y'all understand this. Y'all know this. So you think they're going to let Victor Bout go and they don't have something to use as a piece of leverage? They will study him. They will say, okay, we know exactly how he's going to move when he goes back to Russia and know exactly type of deal. Come on, man. This is geopolitics. This is that high level government stuff that we really aren't privy to. We really aren't privy to. And the worst part of it is, Bakari, is having our sister in the middle of all of that. Victor Bout can be in. This is what he do. This is what he does, rather. I mean, he's an arms dealer. He works for Russia. This is what he does. But Brittney Griner, she's not, and she shouldn't be in this space. She shouldn't be in that space. Shamari, checking in very quickly. Shamari, you said absolutely everyone must, at least in theory, be 1,000% in agreement that Brittney had to be brought back. Why? Because if it was your family member or friend, you demand them back at any cost. What does the president of the United States, President Biden, who said that he was going, and now check this out. Y'all remember this. Here's a man who said to Black America specifically in his inauguration speech. Now, he said it, but he may not always come through on certain things, but he did at least say it. He said, I heard you. I'm here for you. I'm going to be your president. Y'all remember that part in the inauguration speech? So is it crazy that he would do something that Black America has been calling for him to do? Is that crazy? That he would think, how can I keep Black Americans happy? That's not crazy. Why is that like, oh my gosh, now he's just focusing on Black people? Because when the president don't focus on Black people, we get mad. All right, let me try. Let me see if we can get another Fonda Webb. Fonda, you checked in and said, excellent point. America has a different set of morality for ourselves and a different morality for the rest of the world. There it is. Bakari, speak on that, because I know you know.
Man.
We working from, I think, and this is the other part, and I'm glad, Fonda, you brought this up, because that is the big thing. Like, we're seeing it from one moral picture. America is seeing this from another moral standpoint, another standpoint. I don't know if it's moral. I'm going to just say another standpoint, right? We see it from one place, and America sees it from another standpoint. So what's your take on that, Bakari?
It's one of the things that, unfortunately, I mean, it's just a part of our history.
Right.
It's a part of our history, right? We know that the civil rights movement, right? The accessibility of technology, or the emergence, rather, of technology and being able to highlight and demonstrate what the United States was more or less peddling or promoting abroad in terms of, democracy, versus what was taking place here and what Black Americans, descendants of slavery in this country were experiencing were completely different things, right? And it was because of the media, we were able to highlight those differences and move closer towards a possibility. I don't know that we're there yet, but closer towards a possibility of equity. But that level of contradiction, I think Fonda is absolutely right. That is literally the history of the United States. It's you know, that the you know, when folks would say back in the day, do as I say, not as I do.
Right.
It's by and large, I think part of the US's just history and behavior is how, yeah, it's part of the, unfortunately, it's just part of the history of this country. And I don't think that it's, you know, that particular phase is not quite over yet.
No. Not
at all.
And I think Bakari, very quickly, I think that we should recognize that. Mm-hmm. Right? Like we should know what type of country that we are citizens of, that we call home. We should know this. We should know this history. So a decision was made, a deal was done, and now an outcome has been determined. And as a result of that, our sisters back home, we don't know what the implications of Victor about going back to Russia is. But guess what? I'm going to be honest with y'all, folks. At this point, I'm happy that my sister's back home. That's all I'm worried about at this point. Mm-hmm. Y'all do what y'all do with this dude. Like, that's what you got the CIA for. That's what, you know what I'm saying? Y'all do what y'all need to do with this dude. Bring my sister home. Bring my sister home. All right, look, we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, let's switch gears a little bit. Let's talk about some other political stuff, but I want to really also talk about just what is going on in this country. Check this out, folks. There's an 18-year-old in Arkansas that is the mayor of a city.
Oh, yeah.
An 18-year-old. Question I'm asking, would you live in a city where your mayor is 18? I'm going to ask Bakari that when we come forward.
Oh, man.
I'm going to get her take on it. Would you live in a city where your mayor is a teenager? Stay with us. That conversation is up next here on The Culture on the Black Star Network.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol,
we're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Your money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is roland@rolandsmartin.com.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation here today. I truly, truly appreciate it. Man, if you didn't have a chance to tune into the first hour of the show, make sure you check us out on the replay because you will certainly not be disappointed. We talked about everything from Kyrsten Sinema to Brittney Griner, and I got an extra element to this Brittney Griner situations, but make sure y'all check us out at the top of the show. Also, make sure you should tell your friends and family about the Black Star Network and the work that we're doing here to continue to tell our story, speak our truth, and plead our case. So you can log on and check us out at blackstarnetwork.com. Also, make sure you follow us on all social media platforms at Black Star Network on IG and Twitter. And you can follow me, yours truly, Farajii Muhammad, at The Real Farajii on IG and Farajii on Twitter as well. And I would love to connect with you. All right, I want to bring my sister in before we go into this next story, but I definitely want to bring in my sister, Bakari Jones. Bakari, a couple of things. Yeah. Very quickly, I just saw this tweet that Roland had put out. I think he put this out, yesterday? What's the day? No, yeah, it was yesterday. How Kari Lake, let me see this. She's a Trump-endorsed candidate for Arizona governor. Okay.
Yikes. Stop right there, Farajii. Cut it right there. Cut it right there.
So here's I gotta push my hair back just for this. Oh God, no. She said that Brittney Griner should have refused release. She said, if you told me we're going to release you for this guy, I would have maybe said, you know what? Let me stay a little bit longer. Keep working on the negotiation. Let's see if we can find something a little bit more level. See, this is why.
Lies.
Did y'all hear what I said? A Trump-endorsed candidate.
Lies. I'm sorry.
Look, she said that Brittney Griner should have refused to be released for the arms deal of Victor Bout. She said, if you told me we're going to release you for this guy, I would maybe say, you know what? Let me stay a bit longer. Keep working on that negotiation. Let's see if we can find something a little bit more level. This is the stuff I'm talking about. Of course, Brother Roland, he retweets that and says, folks, Kari Lake is a 100% dumbass.
Ooh, I don't like to talk about people's kids, but man, lies, Farajii, lies. No, I just don't believe it. Of all the prisons, a Russian penal colony, I just don't.
Somebody come, hey, Bakari, you get caught up in Russia at a penal colony in an unknown location where your friends and family can't communicate with you.
Farajii.
They say, look, your lawyers come and find you after driving hours out to find the hell where you are, sit you down at the table and say, look, you got a chance to come home. The president wants you, was able to make the deal.
First thing smoking out of there. I'm
saying, well, what's the deal? Well, they want to give up an arms dealer that worked for Russia. Would you want to come home? No, you know what? I think I'm going to take my chances and tell them, no, you know what? You go back to them, Mr. and Mrs. Lawyer, and I'm going to tell them to take that. I'm going to take my chances because I don't want to change my life for no arms.
Just
get the hell out of here.
Question. Do you think that Brittney Griner would have even had that much agency? Like, for real, as a political prisoner, do you think that you would? Is that even again, not a foreign policy expert, is that even an option? Do you even have the option to decline that trade? Is that even an option?
Come on, yo.
It's easy to speculate. Hey, get the tweets, get the retweets, get the traction on your social media page. Again, all that good stuff. Get all of it, because first of all, it's irrelevant because it's made up. It's hypothetical. You don't know what you would have done.
Tiana said no. Tiana checked in and said, to answer your question, Bakari, Tiana said no, she doesn't have that option. Why would you even entertain that? Why would you even entertain an option? That's the dumbest thing I ever heard, man. Seriously. You in a different country at a penal colony. You are not going to refuse to have the opportunity to come back home when you don't even know if coming back home might be an option beyond that point.
Nah, I'm on the first thing.
They're going to be first thing smoking.
Are there bears in Russia? If I got to get on the back of Farajii by any means, I'm out of there.
This is the dumbest thing ever.
I'm out.
That's the dumbest thing ever. You're not going to release. You're not going to refuse release. And see, folks, this is why I'm glad. And I appreciate Brother Roland for retweeting this and making a comment on this. Because at the end of the day, we sound stupid. We sound stupid. You're not going to refuse getting an opportunity to come home. No. We don't even do that in the States.
No.
You're going to refuse it. Oh, no, I ain't coming home until they come up with a better deal. That's
volunteer then. Volunteer. Let's say call the whole thing off. You volunteer. Man. Get out of here.
Come on. Nah. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I don't care. You got somebody, y'all swap, man, I don't even care. Just send me home. I just want to go home.
No.
You want to put more on the sister than necessary, right? Because you want her to be like taking this political stance and what? Take the hit for America?
No.
In this moment?
And it's unfortunate. And then we're in the United States, so we're going to race is brought in whether we like it or not. Would you make that same comment about
a
white political prisoner?
No.
So what are we talking about, man?
Kari Lake, in the words of the great Roland Martin, dumbass. That's dumbass. That's just completely. And guess what? If Kari Lake was over there, if she was over there herself, she damn sure wouldn't have done it. You would not have because she said it. Maybe. You wouldn't have done it. That's the dumbest thing ever. You expect this black woman to sacrifice herself for the sake of the country, as if black women don't already do that, for one.
Correct.
Get the hell out of here.
And again, easy to speculate because as a white woman, the odds of you ever being in that situation are what? Slim to never.
Absolutely. Let's go to the other story. I just had to bring that up. I had to bring it up. Let's talk a little bit about what's happening in Earl, Arkansas, where an 18-year-old by the name of Jalen Smith and Kenan, I don't know if you can pull up the picture of this little brother. There he is. Youngest black mayor in the United States, y'all. 18 years old. Look at this brother. According to election results, Jalen Smith managed to receive 218 votes, while his opponent, Nimi Matthews Sr., sound like he beat an older man, obtained 139 votes. Jalen had posted, "Citizens of Earl, Arkansas, it's official. I am your newly elected mayor of Earl, Arkansas." Keena, let's put this quote up here for me, please, bro. It says, "It's time to build a better chapter of Earl, Arkansas." He said, "I would like to thank all of my supporters for stepping up, getting people to the polls. I am truly grateful for you all." Check this out. Jalen Smith, who just graduated from high school, said about his plans that he plans to make transportation and public safety better. Earl, Arkansas has a population of about 2,000 people. He also wants to tear down houses that have been abandoned and build a grocery store. I love his vision. He said, "You're never too young to want to make a difference in your community." His opponent, Nehemiah Matthews Sr., is the street superintendent of Earl. In addition, Matthews served as lieutenant for Earl's police department. In total, he had worked for the city of Earl for more than 4 decades. This 18-year-old beat this young boy, this older man in Earl, Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
Would you live in that city? Would you live in Earl?
No disrespect to viewers in Arkansas. I don't know if I want to. I don't know if I'm about that Arkansas life in general. Let me say that.
All right. Let's. Okay.
Reality, and it's. I'm just messing with y'all. I would go for it.
You would live there if your man was 18 years old.
Yes. To me, young brother, I think that level of ambition, that level of, because he beat out Nehemiah, I'm not sure how he pronounced his name.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think it's Nehemiah or Nehemiah. It might be Nehemiah Matthews.
He beat out brother Matthews, right, by 50 votes. So I know from what I looked at, I think there's less than 20%, maybe. I don't know what the percentage of the population versus those who voted. Less than 40%, I'm sure, of citizens voted in the first place. So for him to organize and coordinate beating this man out that had 4 decades up on him, I feel like the brother has a vision. And the other thing that I read about this brother was that he actually consulted with several other mayors of Arkansas. So to me, I think that him taking that level of initiative, I know student government can only count but for so much, but for somebody that's 18, student government counts for something, right? Relatively speaking. And he said that that's what inspired him. So to me, I feel like that level of inspiration, in terms of what's actually possible from a collaborative approach with someone that's 18. I want to believe that someone that's that young, he's not quite jaded. So I don't know whether or not he has plans on being a lifelong politician, but I think at this particular age, I feel like, why not? I think he has youth on his side. I think the amount of resources that he'll be able to, organize and coordinate. And even if it's just notoriety based on his age, if he's able to bring more positive attention to Earl, I'm all for it. So I think it's incredible. And I hope that it's, the type of story is not necessarily getting a wild, crazy amount of traction, but I do hope that it's the type of story that, starts to circulate a bit more and really kind of inspire people. So I would go for it. I don't know what Earl is known for, but I would go for it, Farajii. How about you?
I would go for it. And Earl, Arkansas is predominantly a black town.
Yes, it is.
It's a predominant, and I'm talking about predominantly a black town, right? So here's one of those opportunities, I think, for us where we can look at it. I think, and I'm not bringing this up just to make fun of it. I think there is an opportunity for us to really look at how does a town of 2,000 can serve as a model for other black spaces, right? If you have a young leader like Jalen Smith, 18 years old, who is in that role, serving our people, I mean, he's going to be, and I see a lot of folks from my online culture crew checking in about this. They're saying from Earl to Washington, he is going to be great. He is going to be great just because of having that experience alone, right? To be able to take his mind as an 18-year-old and say, you know what? I'm not thinking about myself. I'm thinking about the greater good for all people. Mm-hmm. To make those choices, right? To have that, that experience, to be in a position to make changes for all people. Man, he's going to be great. So I think for Black America, when we hear stories like this, and this is why I wanted to highlight this, is that, yeah, we can look at it from a lot of different vantage points, but the big one I think we can glean from it is the simple fact that you have Black political power, emerging Black political power right there. Mm-hmm. We need to start from somewhere. Look, I got to take a break. When we come back, we'll get some more thoughts. I want to get some comments from our online culture crew. So, folks, I want y'all to continue to check in. And then also when we get back, we'll continue that conversation. Plus, I do want to have a conversation about Trevor Noah and his ode to Black women. So stay with us. A lot more coming at you on today's edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
When you talk about Blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in Black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol,
we're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate Black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Folks, welcome back to the show. We've been talking about the new mayor of Earl, Arkansas, 18-year-old Jalen Smith, who just graduated from high school, has now been voted in to be the new mayor, beating out his opponent, Nehemiah Matthews Sr., a public servant that has been doing that work for over 40 years in the small town of Earl, Arkansas, a small town that is predominantly Black and has a population of about 2,000. Many people are wondering, is this for real? And this is for real, folks. An 18-year-old is serving as the mayor of the small town. This is, in my opinion, a great opportunity for us to have a conversation about Black political power, Black political excellence, and so much more. I want to hear what you got to say. Join us in the conversation. Post your comments on our chat as we're streaming live on Facebook and YouTube. And certainly you can go to our website at blackstarnetwork.com. Bakari Jones, let's bring you back into the frame. So you think this is a good idea? You think this is going to work?
Absolutely. I mean, we're going to have to wait and see. But I think in terms of his ability to galvanize more voters than our brother Matthew.
Yeah.
I think it bodes well for his potential. And again, I think at that age, my hope, my prayer over that brother is just that he remains optimistic, that he remains creative, and he remains, to some extent innovative. I think to even have the desire to attempt in the first place, I think says a lot. So I mean, when we say, is it going to work? I mean, he will have an opportunity to be the mayor just like anyone else would, right? So I think that he has a lot of things on his side. And I think, him being the youngest Black mayor, to me, I feel like there's so much potential energy that he could harness and direct to that very small town, 2,000 people. But I feel like there's so much positivity that I think could come out of that.
Oh, absolutely. Let's go to our online culture crew to get their take on it. Lori Parks checking in. You said, this is what I'm talking about, bringing in the new generation. And he ended up being the mayor to bring others in that young age bracket getting involved in politics. Absolutely. I wonder what his friends think, though, Bakari. You'd be like, you trying to, and, let's show, hey, Keenan, show that picture of him. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? He's probably like a very quiet little guy. Probably very, he probably has a lot to say. Obviously, he has a lot to say. But I wonder what his friends think. Or if somebody bullied him. I mean, just what do people think?
The clips and the quotes that I saw about him, he said that he wasn't running, it wasn't about popularity. He said that he was running because he wanted to be able to change things, and to bring more positivity. I mean, he's talking about tearing down abandoned buildings and building grocery stores. These are not... You know what I mean? He's not trying to complete rocket science in Earl. He is like, we're trying to eradicate some basic problems on the ground. So I feel like if he's able to, again, organize people. The thing that's interesting to me about this, I don't know if it's a proverb or a quote about young men are for war and old men are for counsel. So I think to me, this is really interesting. I feel like, just that kind of, just to be able to contemplate that, right? This is a level of political warfare, right? Like that he has the opportunity to be more on the offense in this not all, but predominantly Black part of Arkansas. And my hope, I think, we're talking about a lot about his youth, but my hope also is that a lot of the elders that are around him, those who have been like Brother Matthews, who was, who's been a public servant for over 40 years, I'm hoping that they will continue to rally around him. Brother Matthew did congratulate him. He thanked his supporters and then, congratulated him and wished him all the best. So I'm hoping that there are more elders that are in that same position, ready to really just protect that brother.
And he's going to need some protection. He's going to really need some protection. And more importantly, I think he needs the support in terms of, okay, he won the election fair and square. Nobody gave him this position. He ran for it. People voted for him and all of that stuff. So at this point, it's like you can't question his legitimacy unless you change some laws about the age requirements to be mayor and all of that stuff. But he's going to need that support. He is going to need some support. Let me hear from Chloe. Chloe checking in. You said it has been young people that has fought for social change. Remember the core group during the civil rights era? Yeah, absolutely. The Little Rock Nine and other young people mentor and support this young man. Right.
Word.
Like at the end of the day, that's exactly what we need to do. Mentor and support this young man. What's this? Natron and Chloe, thank you so much. Natron, you said after the Herschel debacle, it was so uplifting to see that intelligent teen do his thing. Right. Absolutely. This is exactly what we say we wanted to see happen. Now, some of us say, oh, we should have ran for city council. Some people say we should have ran for the alderman. This little brother said, no, I'm going to run for mayor. And he won. He won, and he beat an older man in the process. And it speaks volumes about the people of Arkansas, that they saw him as being more qualified than this older man. That speaks volumes. That speaks volumes. So it's going to be interesting, to say the least, to see how things go. Let me see if we can get one more in here. You don't like my music? You say small town mayor is basic kitchen table economics. Right. You're right. And this is why I like it, because at the end of the day, you have to be able to know that have that skill set to be able to figure out how budgeting goes and all of those things. Like, you just have to have that skill set. And that's important. Again, I said it at the beginning of this conversation, Bakari. This little brother's about to get the experience of a lifetime. And it's crazy because he might get reelected again when he's 20. I don't know.
Can't even toast at a victory celebration, man.
Right.
That's wild. Hopefully so, man. Hopefully so.
Yo, you imagine a victory celebration, though? They'd be like serving milk.
You know what I mean?
Like,
you got some Coke in here. What they call it in Arkansas? Is it pop in Arkansas, or
I don't know. That's
cold drink, whatever it is?
Hey, look, Lana said that she's from Arkansas, so she said that this is her home state. So, Lana, what kind of victory party would you have for an 18-year-old mayor?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I think it's dope, man. I think it's absolutely dope. It is so cool to say that you have this. I'm gonna see if we can try to get the little brother on. Because man. I mean, that would be awesome. That would be awesome. Let me see if we got any more. Okay. Oh, Janae said he is going to be speaking at the next mayoral conference. That's going to be interesting. If he's given, I don't know if Janae, you were just saying that like he got enough buzz around him, or if he's actually confirmed to do that. But that will be interesting. That would be interesting. He's the type of person, Bakari, that we should teach our children about. You know what I'm saying? Like, I remember Bobby Hutton. Y'all know who Bobby Hutton is? Bobby Hutton was the first person to join the Black Panther Party when they first started with Huey Newton and Bobby Seale. He was 16 years old. He was killed by police. It was one of the harder hit blows that affected Huey Newton, right? But little Bobby Hutton, I think that's what they call it. You know, I remember reading this called Little Bobby Hutton. And 16 years old, being able to be a part of it. And I think this goes back to us having a conversation about how we may be underestimating our teenagers. Because if we put a Jalen Smith or Bobby Hutton or others in front of them, we may be able to shift the culture on how they think about themselves, right? Like, and well, maybe I can do this, maybe I can do that. But I think we need to shift the culture wholeheartedly. It can't just be this situation of, wait your turn and all of that stuff. We have to shift the conversation, but I think we have to do it by highlighting, young people that are doing just like outstanding and phenomenal work.
Mm-hmm.
Like this little brother.
Showing what's possible and showing how. You know what I mean? Because I think that's the major piece I think is missing for a lot of people. If it's like, well, how do you do it, right? Young people organize organically and instinctually, right? Whether it's a house party, a meetup, or student government, right? So if he's able to highlight what he's able to do, right? Like being able to actually make change, being able to be more in control, to actually shift things locally. Oh man.
And look, check this out. Imagine if he actually is able to get that grocery store built. He'll go down as one of the greatest mayors of Earl, Arkansas.
Listen, a grocery store in a space with people, 2,000 people.
Come on. Imagine if he builds up the town for real. He'll be reelected. If he can get a grocery store, he can get that space you're talking about. He can be like, for my friends, for my young friends out there, I got this space. Man, please. He'll go down as one of the greatest men.
The potential for that type of like contagiousness in other, cities and small towns within Arkansas also is, man. Right. That to me, that's exciting to me,
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Look, we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, let's shift the conversation talking about a young black boy to now talking about black women. I'm going to share with you what Trevor Noah had to say about black women as he was giving his closing speech as he's planning to depart hosting the Daily Show on Comedy Central. So we'll have that conversation and why it's important for us to discuss black women. Stay with us. That discussion is up next here on The Culture on the Black Star Network.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
This great piece in the Washington Post that came out about this, looking at his whole career. And when you do a look at his whole career and the number of things he said, from the time he said George Bush doesn't care nothing about black people when he was doing that, and then all of the stuff that he said, one of my big pet peeves is not just the fact about you just saying things without truth, not knowing the full truth. My pet peeve is, are you doing all of this for yourself, or are you trying to do this for other people? And it's hard for me to identify, Jules, a moment when he says something to the effect of, hey, black designers don't have a say in this industry. Every time Kanye West talks, he's talking about what he himself personally have undergone, the trials of his personal life, the trials of his personal brand, the trials of him personally not getting into certain spaces and certain circles. I'm not hearing from Ye where he's saying, this is why black folks are always marginalized. This is why.
All right, folks, welcome back to the show. Give you a little something there. A little something. All right, let's talk a little bit. Let's shift gears from Jalen Smith to now talking about Trevor Noah. Y'all know Trevor Noah. Let's bring Bakari back into this conversation. Bakari Jones. Trevor Noah, who has done his thing He's been hosting The Daily Show for 7 years. He came on after Jon Stewart. I love The Daily Show. Watch The Daily Show. Have some of the best conversations right there on a show on Comedy Central, out of all places.
Mm-hmm.
But last night, he gave kind of like his finale speech, and excuse me, and talked about what the show has done for him in his personal life. But more importantly, he wanted to give a shout out. And I don't know, Keenan, if we can do the video, and let me know if we have the video of what Trevor had to say. But it was a big shout out, as much as he talked about all of the other things. The one group of people that he shouted out, Bakari, was Black women. Take a look at what Trevor Noah, we want to play an excerpt of it, but take a look at what Trevor Noah had to say as he closed out his time hosting The Daily Show.
Most importantly, I'm grateful to you. Every single one of you. I'm so grateful. I remember when we started the show, we couldn't get enough people to fill an audience. And I always think it's good. That's how comedy is, funny enough. I remember all my shows, there weren't tickets, everyone, there were empty seats. And then I look at this now, I don't take it for granted ever. Every seat that has ever been filled to watch something that I'm doing, I always appreciate, because I know the empty seat that sits behind it. So thank you. Thank you to the people who watch, the people who share the clips, everyone who's had an opinion, everyone who's been kind enough and gracious enough to, even if it's a critique, doesn't even have to be praise, but some people who watch, I don't like it when you do this, but I watch. I want to say I appreciate those people. Even the people who hate watched, we still got the ratings, thank you. I'm eternally grateful to you. And this is random for some, but special shout out to Black women. I've often been credited with, having these grand ideas of people like, oh, Trevor, you're so smart and and then I'm like, who do you think teaches me? Who do you think has shaped me, nourished me, informed me? From my mom, my gran, my aunts, all these Black women in my life, but then in America as well. I always tell people, if you truly want to learn about America, talk to Black women.
That's dope. That is dope AF, Bakari.
It is, man. It's a beautiful note to end on a Friday.
I'm telling you. No. Now let me share with you folks exactly. We couldn't play the whole thing, but Keenan, if we could post the quote of Trevor. He said, "This is random, but special shout out to Black women. I've often been credited with having these grand ideas where people are like, well, Trevor, you're so smart. And then I'm like, who do you think teaches me? Who do you think has shaped me, nourished me, informed me, from my mom, my grand, my aunt, all these women in my life. But then in America as well, I always tell people, if you truly want to learn about America, talk to Black women. Unlike everybody else, Black women cannot afford to fuck around and find out. Black people understand how hard it is when things go bad, especially in America. But any place where Black people exist, whether it's Brazil, whether it's South Africa, wherever it is, when things go bad, Black people know that it gets worse for them. But Black women in particular, they know what shit is genuinely. He goes on to say, people always be shocked, like, why do you Black women turn out the way they do in America? Why do they vote the way? Yeah, because they know what happens when things do not go the way they should. They cannot afford to fuck around and find out. And to Black women who have taught me, all of them, I mean, the scholars online, the authors, everybody, the Roxanne Gays, the Tracy McMillan Cottons, I'll remember the names, the Zoe Samunzis, brilliant women who have taken the time to inform me, to educate me, to argue with me. The Tarana Burks who laughed with me talking about everything from sexual assaults to just what life is like. I'll tell you now, do yourself a favor. You truly want to know what to do? or how to do it, or maybe the best way or the most equitable way, talk to Black women. There are a lot of the reasons I am here, and I am so grateful for them. Why do y'all think I got Black women on this show?
Man.
People always say, boy, you gotta, bro, I surround myself with brilliant Black women. There's a reason.
Mm-hmm.
I think what Trevor Noah said, first and foremost, let me get your take on this, Bakari. How big is this? How major of a moment is this for the culture?
I think it's an incredible moment. I think it's beautiful. I think in the face of it's a beautiful way to kind of go into the weekend, right? Brittney Griner coming home. This sort of acknowledgement for one from Trevor Noah, I think is incredible. I think that, it highlights that, Trevor Noah didn't get into it in his sort of ode to Black women, why Black women are so knowledgeable, right? And it's because Black women are at the intersections of so many different areas and, pockets around this country. We have perspectives on so many different issues. I hope that it's this type of language that starts to shift the attitudes. And I feel like, in addition to shifting those attitudes, we also want some of those coins to shift, because in addition to listening to Black women, to me, the only thing that could have made that any sweeter would have been listen to Black women and pay them for their intellectual property, pay them for the work that they are doing, pay them for the work that they have done. So to me, it's incredible. I think, this sort of reminds me of it's not the same as the letter that was signed on behalf of all the Black women activists in support of Meg Thee Stallion. But to me, it is any piece of media, any piece of content that celebrates and puts Black women and recognizes rather Black women, I think it's an incredible, beautiful moment.
It's a huge moment. I would agree with you. I would totally agree with you. I think that moments like this need to be remembered. I'm so happy that we are living in a time where technology allows us to kind of go back and see. But now it's etched in our brains as public record. Yep. Here's what I loved about it. He just didn't say an ode to Black women. Like of course, he highlighted his mom, his grandmother, his aunt. But I like the fact that he highlighted the women who he came across during his time as host of the show that have, as he said, educated him, argued with him, he called them out by name and used them as the reference point. The Roxanne Gays, the Tarana Burks. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And big shout out to my sister Tarana, because I've worked with Tarana for a little bit here in Baltimore. She was doing some work traveling from New York to Baltimore before the Me Too situation really took off. But I didn't know that at the time. But she was so down to earth and humble about the work that she did. I was just like, oh, she's like a big sister. But big shout out to Tarana for the great work she's been able to do over these past few years. But just that, being able to name, because I think it's important that, one, for Black men to be very explicit about the women, to be very intentional and to be very specific about the women that shaped us, right? Mm-hmm. That's one. Two, to highlight the brilliance of Black women by name. Mm-hmm. I have often heard, Bakari, and I'm sure you probably heard this. It's one thing to say, to have a broad stroke of, Black women are dope. Uh-huh. But it's another thing to be able to give people a picture, a model of what dope is, how dope is embodied. That you have a Tarana Burke or Roxanne Gay or whoever, Bakari Jones, like whoever you have in your mind that you make it relatable. It's one thing, you know what I'm saying? Because we can all say Black, but until you say like a Harriet Tubman, Sojourner Truth, now you have it. But what he just did was like modernize it. I mean, this is important. because it's like you modernized it. You give us now, we can look to some of these women to say, okay, now if after listening to that, well, who are these women? Who are these people? And they're living women, they're breathing women, they're women that are shaping the culture as we speak and as we experience it right now. So that's very important to be very specific, and it gives them their flowers while they're living, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I think it's just on so many levels. It was just like very, very dope that he was able to kind of shout them out. And it's like, as Black men, there are so many Black women that have added to us. And I think that as much as Black women have filled our cups on various levels, friendship and relationships and motherhood and sisterhood and all those spaces, like Black men, we can't act as if we can't fill up their cups. Like I can't act as if, Bakari, I can't fill your cup. You come on this show, you give your time, you provide your analysis and your expertise. And, you know, I'm always trying, okay, I got to fill up Bakari's cup. Well, I got to fill up this sister's cup or that sister's cup. And I think that sometimes I get lost, you know, especially among Black men. When you think about it, you know, some of us are still kind of stuck in the old ways of like Black women just serve me and I'm not serving them in return. That has to be done with. Like you got, as Black men, we got to fill up these sisters' cup because they give. Y'all give so much. It's a part of who you are, second nature. But we got to give back. And I'm not talking about in just some bullshit way. I'm talking about like really give back, like fill up the cups. Teaching young girls how to become better girls. And, you know, let's improve our relationship with the women in our lives and all of these things. We got to fill up y'all cups too.
I think, yeah. And I think that I would say a lot of Black women will probably make the ask of Trevor Noah. Like I said, number one, filling up the cup and also filling up the wallet. No disrespect, right? I'm not right. Cause I'm not trying to negate the things that he's saying. Right. Like I think that his words are beautiful. But it's like the words are one thing, and will that, like, what else comes along with that? Woo! I think if there was something that was in kind. I think one of the ways that I feel like Black men can fill the cups of other Black women is educating other Black men on the ways that Black men, and again, trying not to make a blanket statement, right? That's that causes more friction or tension between masculine and feminine energy in our communities, but some of that is acknowledging the ways that we're harming and doing damage to one another. If we could just, maybe we don't even got to fill a cup up. Can you just not punch a hole in the cup? Can you not step in the cup?
Come on now.
Right? Like those are some of the small things that we could do. And the last thing I wanted to say that I really appreciate that Trevor Noah said specifically was the Black women that have argued with him. Right. Yep. And I think acknowledging that emotional labor that Black women do on behalf of Black people, but specifically with Black men in ways that can and has historically led to violence, not all the time, right? But we know sometimes that level of pushback can lead to violence. So I think that for him to thank Black women, and I'm not sure that Trevor Noah is partnered with a Black woman. I'm sure we're not going to talk about that today, but I'm grateful for him acknowledging sisters. And I'm curious about, I know he does a lot of philanthropy. I'm curious about what some of his efforts behind those words look like, right? Because like the lip service is beautiful. It's incredible. And to me, it seemed very genuine, right? The things he said. Yeah. That's always how Trevor Noah comes across. Right. But, you know, I do wonder, it's like, okay, and how else do you, how does Trevor Noah specifically pour back into the cups of all these women? Right, sharing his platform is an incredible way for Farajii. You know, that's the way that I feel. You share your platform with so many people. So I just, you know, I'm curious. I wonder what that looks like. But for somebody that has the amount of the size of Trevor Noah's platform, I think it's incredible. You know, to me, I think that's highlighting an entire continent of women and Black women all over this country as well.
You know what, Bakari? I think that might be the theme of 2023. Black women are like, we love the words, but we Let me say, y'all say we like the words, but we love the action.
We love the action.
We want that action. We want you to support us financially. We don't want you to just, greeting card words are beautiful. You know, in moments, words of affirmation, that's certainly a love language, right?
It is.
But when you're talking about that acts of service, and I've heard that time and time again. Black women are like, words of affirmation is good, physical touch is cool, but that acts of service.
The acts of service.
What, you filling my cup, you supporting me financially, you teaching other Black men how to have a better view and a healthy relationship with Black women. And Black boys having a healthy relationship with Black women. These are those tangibles, right?
Yep.
That I think that is important to have. And I think, to your point, I wouldn't agree with you more. I think hands down, you're right on point, Bakari, because we're not going to be able to make the progress we want to make if we're always at odds with one another. And more importantly, if we're not really truly serving one another. I don't want to be in a position where I'm just taking from a Black woman, any Black woman, right? I want to be in a position where I'm giving. Matter of fact, I want to give so much that a Black woman be like, wait a minute, hold up, man. All right, you gave me too much. You spoiling me. You know what I'm
saying? Okay. Overgiving. All right.
You know what I'm saying? In any capacity that I can. Like, okay, I'm always trying to figure out, okay, let's figure out a different way that we can support. So I think that is absolutely important. All right, very quickly, DeAndre, you say respect to Trevor Noah, excuse me. He's done us all proud from all over the diaspora. And he also put South Africa on the map in a major way. He definitely did.
Yeah.
Definitely did. Big shout out to Trevor. And DeAndre, my God, thank you so much. Black Queen, you checked in and said, I bet those Karens in the audience and elsewhere are undercover butthurt. You know Black women shouldn't get any praise in their eyes. Please. They trying to be like Black women, some of them. Please. They're like, damn. But it wasn't a written statement. He was inspired to say that from some space, from somewhere. That feminine energy say, hey boy, you better say something about these women.
Tap him on that shoulder real quick. Hey, bro.
Exactly. All right, very quickly. OL Griffin, thank you for checking in, and Black Queen, thank you. You said also the women he named are from a wide diversity of disciplines across the cultural spectrum. Great job by Noah getting fit. That's right. Absolutely. All right, so now speaking of Black women, let's give you a couple of flowers, because people, I don't know if you know this, Bakari, but when you come on, people are very excited. You represent so many different spaces for a lot of different women. And so one of the things that I saw in the chat today, people were wondering, where did you get your hoodie from?
Oh, man.
What that hoodie say?
Graduate her, educate her, professor, motivator, stimulator, translator, advisor, order, narrator, Bethune. This is The Audacity of She. My good friend Oshun. She's a Black woman hairstylist, natural hairstylist, entrepreneur, artist, visionary, incredible sister from Philadelphia, but has been in Baltimore for years and years now. And yeah, this is a part of her line. And yeah, she is somebody who's always giving back to Black women. She has a discussion series, trying to create space for Black women to discuss things, trying to create space for us to discuss things across the gender spectrum. So yeah, The Audacity of She on social media, y'all.
And what's your social, Bakari, so folks can follow you?
Yeah, check me out, BakariJones.com for public speaking, coaching, facilitation, communication strategy. And my Instagram is Bakari in public. So that's the ways that you can follow along whatever adventures I got coming up.
There it is.
Yeah.
Bakari Jones, you know you are phenomenal. You know you are amazing, and you are certainly always welcome here on the space. So I thank you so much for your insight and analysis. But more importantly, Bakari, thank you for being so good for the culture.
Appreciate you, Farajii. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Appreciate you. All right, folks, that's going to do it for us. I thank each and every one of you for being a part of the conversation. I thank Bakari. Oh, man. Thank you. What a great week we had here on the culture. And I thank you so much for the continued support. Our numbers have gone up and so much more. So make sure y'all continue to show y'all support. check us out at blackstarnetwork.com. Go to our website and download the app for free. And more importantly, continue to support us financially and in other ways to make sure we get the word out that the culture, that Roland Martin Unfiltered, that the Black Table, that Getting Wealthy, and all of these dynamic programs we have here on this platform are rocking and rolling. So your support means everything. So check us out at blackstarnetwork.com. Also follow us on our Instagram page at Black Star Network, as well as on Twitter. And follow me, yours truly, Farajii Muhammad. I'm on The Real Farajii, Instagram, Farajii on Twitter, and I would love to connect with each and every one of you. That's going to do it for me. Stay tuned. Up next is RMU with Big Brother Roland Martin. As always, never be afraid to challenge what's wrong. Stand for what's right while being yourself in the process. God willing, we'll talk to on Monday, for another exciting edition of The Culture. Please have a safe and enjoyable weekend, and I look forward to reconnecting with all of you on Monday. Talk to you soon. Peace.